Well, hello. Welcome to my Good Life meditation for today, February 10th, 2025. My name is Kurt. Uh, Welcome new subscribers. This is not a Japan-related video, although I am in Japan at a convenience store, a family mart to be particular. These videos, these Good Life meditations, are my daily journal entries, video journal entries usually done live, where I talk about my last 24 hours and I prepare for the coming day. I do talk about controversial subjects here, so if you're not interested in controversy or you're not interested in anything other than Japan, then this might not be the right video for you. You can always find these because they have the title Good Life Meditation, the Good Life with the sunshine at the front. Also, I want to thank my Patreon supporters, my YouTube members, and those that watch my videos for buying me this cup of coffee this morning. What I'll do in this video is go over three things. I'll talk about the last 24 hours of my life and the challenges and opportunities that I encountered and how I did with these. I'll relate the 8 objectives of my personal creed called The Good Life, hence the title of the video. And 3, I'll prepare for the coming day by outlining what I have in mind for the day and how the schedule should go down. Every day I have a list that I keep a little notebook with me. It's in my bag at all times. And before I start this video, I bring this out and I itemize how the day will unfold on an hour-by-hour basis, starting at 4 a.m., which is my wake-up time. So we're off to the races. I've done my what I call engagement from 4 a.m. The timing is a little bit different with these sometimes because it depends on where I'm going to do it. If I'm going to do this, if I do this video at home versus here at Family Mart, which is close to my home, or at Lawson, which is at Kusanagi Station, a half-hour walk away. It all depends. After I settle into my new house next week, it'll have a chance to settle into a routine. I don't really have a routine yet because I'm still living the vagabond life. So first, let's begin with last night and yesterday. I slept really good last night. Oh yeah, by the way, I had a tough week. I came up with a little new system of adding stars, a 5-star system. 1 or 0 to 5 stars, ranking each day. Yesterday was another 5-star day for sure. And there were 2 5-star days ahead of that. That was a third 5-star day in a row. But preceding that, earlier in the week, I was having 2-star days. I had like 3 2-star days in a row, really bad days, and then followed by 3 really good days. So what's going to happen next is anybody's guess. Although I don't want it to be like that. I don't want it to be left to just whatever. I want to, part of the reason I do this exercise is so that I can take greater control of my life and not have my days be subject to whim and whimsy, but more deliberate efforts of living. So what did I learn from the last couple of days, the 2-star days and the 3-star days? Namely, I was adjusting to my new life in Japan. I was struggled earlier in the week trying to find my footing in a life that was new to me, even though I'm familiar with this. I've only been back to Japan for 2 months. And I think in the 3 days ago, I stumbled across the problem. It wasn't that I was missing my job. I'm newly retired. So that is a challenge, finding a new life now that I'm retired. It wasn't that I was missing my job. It wasn't that I was necessarily missing America or my profession. It was that I was not in control of my own life. I was coasting, drifting, or what do they call it? What do you call it when a bicyclist goes behind a truck? Drafting. I was drafting behind my wife, who has already established this life here. And 3 days ago, I stepped to the side because she got sick. I had to. And so I was like, okay, I'll take it from here. And I stepped to the fore, and that solved my problem. And I've been having good days ever since. Doesn't mean all days are going to be good, but I learned a valuable lesson there. So today I'm calling it Architect Day. But I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? I'm talking about today. I need to continue talking about yesterday. Yesterday was another very productive day. It was a Sunday. We had we're moving next week on Monday to the new house from our apartment, and we had two moving companies send their representatives in the morning yesterday to give us a quote on the cost for the move. We have dogs, so to make things easier, I took the dogs out for a walk and Yumiko stayed behind. The first mover rep came at 9 a.m. and that did not go well. It turned out it was kind of a pushy, bossy salesman kind of guy, and Yumiko felt rather intimidated, and he did some sales tactics that we didn't like, basically pressuring my wife to make a decision on the spot, offering a sizable discount. He offered to do the move, and our move consists of just a few items. We have a refrigerator, a washing machine, a sofa table, a queen size mattress. That's all, no bed. There's an air conditioner that needs to be uninstalled and reinstalled in a new place, and a few boxes. That's it. So his quote to move, and we literally live 5 minutes walking distance. Our apartment is 5 minutes walking distance from the house that we bought. So a very short drive. He offered us a quote of 170,000 yen to move, and he offered a 40,000 yen discount if we made a decision on the spot. That roughly equates to about, with the discount, to about, $650 or some US dollars. We didn't like that pressure tactic. So I told Yumiko, this guy lost the deal, right? Because we have another guy coming at noon to get a second quote, and we've already got that in the works. And if he's not going to let us have time to shop around, then he's lost our business. So he basically lost his chance. So the second guy came at noon, and I stayed for that one because I wanted to back my wife up. He was great. It was everything you could have hoped from high quality Japanese customer service. He did the evaluation of everything. We didn't have a place where he sit, so he sat on it. He kneeled on the floor and did all of his calculations, and he just gave us the bottom line quote, which was 125,000 yen, only 500 yen different from the dangling quote that other guy. And it's amazing that the two companies came up with almost identical quotes. But the thing was, the second guy was no funny business. No, gotta make your decision right now. It's like, here's the amount that we can do. And so we were like, yeah, we're going with you. And at the end, I told him, I said, my best Japanese, I said, the best part of this deal was you. I mean, you sold us. I mean, it's 10 minutes into the interaction with him, I knew that this was the company we were going to go with, just because he was such a good, down-to-earth, non-pressure salesman. So we selected that, and it turned out they had availability next week, and so we jumped on it. So we moved our move date from the 25th to the 17th of February. So we're moving next Monday. We got literally 7 days to go. Moving on from that, we then transitioned into working on the house mode. By then it was already like 1:30 in the afternoon, and so we met with Yoko, my wife's sister, and we all went to the house and we proceeded to work on the house. Now the inside of the house is all done. It's move-in ready. Yumiko is doing a deep dive on the kitchen, and Yoko and I decided to tackle the sheds. We have 2 sheds that we bought that came with the house, full of garden equipment and stuff outside. We tackled those to pull everything out of the sheds, separated into burnables and non-burnables and things like oily stuff. And then and that was exciting. We had a good time doing that. Found 3 giant huntsman spiders that were hibernating in there. That was exciting, including one that Yoko I was there, Yoko pulled a can of something out, and the huntsman was clinging right below her hand. It was kind of exciting. So we did that, and then they had an emergency supply in the shed, which had like bottles of water, And there was food also, but we'd already taken that out, canned food. And I found something that I was on the lookout for, a bag of money. Not much, just 9,000 yen, which is about, just under $60 US. And Japanese culture, I don't know if this is like a Showa period thing, or what, if they did it back in the old days, but housewives would often stash a little stash of money and hide it somewhere in the house. Mom's piggy bank, right? Save for a rainy day. And that's a cultural thing. And I expected that when we started going through the house, since the family elected to leave everything behind, that there was a good chance that we might uncover a stash of money that a forgetful housewife had left behind. And that's exactly what happened. There amongst the emergency supplies, not hidden, there was the bottles of water, and then there was like a cover on the top, and as soon as you pull the cover off the top, there's a purse. And I knew as soon as I saw it, oh, we found it. The question was how much was in there, and it wasn't much. So I said a moment ago that I'm standing on my own 2 feet more, but when it comes to cultural stuff, I don't stand on my own 2 feet. I turn to my wife and my sister-in-law, who have very good moral compasses in general, especially relative to Japan. And I gathered them around and said, hey, look what I found. Found the household money. They knew what it was too. And I want to add that the woman that probably left it behind is still alive. It's probably the woman of the house. She's still alive. She moved out because she's old. Apparently she's still, capable. And she actually, after we agreed to buy the house, she came to the house a couple of times to sort through. She took some furniture. So she sorted through. She even left us a friendly note about something, about the use of the table that she left that has a leaf. So she left us a nice handwritten note about that. So the reason that's by way of, is that am I offering that as a disclaimer that, she's the one that probably had left the money there and left it behind, or maybe she forgot. Anyway, it's not like, what I'm trying to say is the family had the choice to leave everything behind, and this is going to figure in the decision that we made, and they chose to leave a lot behind, including family photo albums. I mean, they left a lot of memorabilia behind. I mean, school uniforms, family photos, which is really common. Japanese do this all the time. They just walk away from the past. It's like, never mind. I've done the same thing. I mean, I've moved on from one life circumstance to another, and I'm like, I don't care about the value of these things. Just forget about it. I'm off. So I showed the person, we talked about it. I said, what should we do? And instantaneously, both Yumiko and Yoko were like, oh yeah, let's keep it. And I suggested, why don't we take Dad out, our 90-year-old father, for a nice dinner tonight. That was last night, and that's exactly what we did. The money barely paid for it. I mean, we ended up paying like 25,000 for. We went to a really nice. We went to a Japanese restaurant chain that's called Gyukaku. That my wife was the senior administrator of general affairs in the United States. So she was kind of a big boss in the United States for that restaurant chain before we came to Japan. So we went there, and I got to nudge my father-in-law as we sat down, and I said, your daughter was a big wig in America for this place. And he said, whoa. I don't think he was too impressed. He's the kind of guy that, I think he's, some parents, I probably shouldn't say this. Some parents are not comfortable with their children doing better than them. I think he's one of them. So after I said it, I said, I probably shouldn't have said that. But I was just proud. And I turned to my wife and said, but I'm proud of you. You did well in America. So we had a nice dinner. The 9,000 yen paid for about 40% of that. So knowing what I was getting myself into, I took a photo of myself holding the purse and crafted a post for social media, including stating, here's the circumstances. I found this money. It's not uncommon for stashes like this to exist in old houses. I'm sure half the Akiya that I see wandering around here have little stashes in there somewhere. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and have dinner with this money. What would you do? I tried to ask it as carefully. I really carefully worded it. I tried to give my decision, our decision about what to do, and our reason for doing it. I didn't get too deep into the reason, but I said we did it because the house was sold as is with no contingencies. What I didn't share was that the family, because it sounded like too much information, was that the family had been to the house numerous times before the closure of the sale, and were moving furniture out and changing things around. So they had gone through everything. It's not like they had just didn't have a chance. They did have a chance, and it wasn't that hard to find. And the woman that left it was still alive and had been to the house herself. I didn't say any of that. Really what I wanted to do was to ask people to share what their thoughts were. This is a true social media post of curious request for engagement, to hear what people would say. What I was hoping for was that people would tell me what they would do and then give their reason for why they would do it. After the fact, I should have asked for that reason, because what a lot of people do, including me, is that we just shoot from the gut, right? We say, well, here's what I would do, and you don't think about why. It's just because, maybe like I would give it to charity because that makes me feel like a good person, or maybe I would call them up because that makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. But what I was really curious about was the rationale about why people would do what they did. I got only in a few cases, and I spread this across all my social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, etc. And I basically can say that the responses were almost the same, and really surprised me across all of the platforms, because usually the responses I get for such queries on X versus Facebook are very, very different. My community on X is so different from my community on Facebook. But in this case, it was all the same, almost equally divided. I would say maybe a little more, maybe like 55-60% of the people, I didn't do an actual poll, but would say, I should have done a poll, would say, give it back in some capacity, or donate it to charity, or in one case, take it to the police, right? In about 45% of the time, 40-50% of the time, people said, keep it, right? So I was definitely in the minority in our determination. What fleshed out, what I was really interesting was the few cases that people actually gave their rationale for why they would do it, and we could then explore it a little bit. If people didn't give a rationale, I just said thank you for sharing your thoughts, because there's nothing to say, right? That's your opinion. But if they actually shared why they thought that, then that could have some meat to chew on. Not in an argumentative way, but an exploratory way. So one of the things that came out of that discussion was the exploration of what to do on the opposite. Like, for example, what does as is constitute? Like, in addition to finding the money in the shed, I also found, when I picked up the footstool thing outside the Genkan, the porch thing, I also found containers of used motor oil that were just sitting there with the open containers with the oil inside, right? So someone had like changed the oil in their car, didn't know what to do with it, and just stuffed it under the thing, and nobody saw it when they sold the house. So that begs the question, when we buy it as is, are we getting both the boon and the bust, right? We get the boon of the money we find, or any valuables. Like, I also found a container of medals that were from the first World Cup in Japan, and I took that to the dump, and the guys at the dump were sorting through the stuff, and I'm getting to know those guys because I go so often. They're like, hey, they come up, they call me with this, you shouldn't throw this away, this is valuable, these are like from the first World Cup in Japan. So there we've got a valuable item, right? So the question is, what line does there exist where you say, well, hey, this is either, like the family photos. They left their friggin' family photos. I found the album. At what line do I say, okay, it's time for me to track down, because we don't have contact with these people. We'd actually have to reach out to our realtor to contact their realtor, to them, or reach out to them. And in Japan, this kind of stuff just isn't really done. I mean, you don't really do that. It's not like the States. You kind of, once the deal's done, everybody backs away slowly, and that's the end of that. It's a pretty big deal. It's not culturally, it's different. Also, let me just add another footnote there. There's also the fact that when you do these things, you may be dredging up memories that people don't want. People leave things behind sometimes because they hurt them, or they've got sentimental memories. Like, I found a lot of, I won't talk to you guys about it, but I found a lot. I got the room of the woman. The room that is my room was the room of the woman kind of breaking me up. The woman who sold us the house, who grew up in that house. That was her girlhood room. And she left stuff in there from her teenage and young 20s. I think she was there through her university years and maybe beyond. She left stuff in there that told some stories about some painful moments in her life. And I began, as I was going through this, and I didn't share any of that here. And as I was going through that stuff, I was like, now I see a little more about why she just wanted to walk away, right? Because in a way, you can walk away from a painful past. So there's the fact of that, so we find this money, and we find these little thing of medals, and I find the photo albums, and so I reach out, so to reach out to them, I have to reach out to our realtor, to reach out to their realtor, to reach out to them, and say, hey, we found all this stuff, and photos, look, there's photos of, this kid. How do you know that the kid in the photos wasn't like a deceased brother that died some tragic way? I mean, I'm making this up, right? And they don't, it's just, it brings back painful memories. This is a real thing. People walk away from lives because they want to walk away from lives. And 9,000 yen may be a small price to pay to not have to go through the boxes, because they would have to do that, right? I mean, like if they know that the house is full of memories, and if they think, oh, didn't mom leave a little purse with some pocket change in there? Because $56 is basically pocket change, for the most part, right? I mean, here, at least here in Japan, I mean, you go to the bank and you don't take out ni-sen and 2,000 yen. That's like $15. You take out ichiman in, right? $100. That's about as much that's more than the amount in the purse. You don't go digging through that, because you never know what box you're going to open. There might be a giant spider in there, but there also might be a photograph that you didn't want to see. So there's that to take into, and I didn't explore any of that in my social media post. That was too much to digest. I just let that sit in my mind. The feedback was fascinating and still coming in, right? So if you want to weigh in on your thoughts, I welcome you to visit any of my social media posts, including my YouTube channel, community feed, and you'll find that photo and that question there. That was interesting. Yesterday was a really good day. We got a lot done. Yoko and I got both of the sheds completely out. The crap's all over the yard. An architect is coming at 9 o'clock this morning. We're having the house professionally inspected for things like structural damage, termites, asbestos, water damage, earthquake readiness, all that stuff. It's going to cost a pretty penny, but we want to get this done before we move in, because this is going to help us to determine how to allocate our renovation funds in ways, as a project manager, I'll create an itemized list of all of the issues that we find, then prioritize them, assign a budget price tag to each of them, and then begin deciding how we're going to unfold our DIY roadmap according to that. So the architect will be here at 9, first of 2 visits. This is their reconnoiter visit. And then after that, they'll come back again and do the proper inspection, like with coveralls, and dig around the house and stuff. I don't know if the architect does that or if he sends out one of his minions to do that. The cost for that is about Jumon yen, so about 100. What is that? Jumon yen would be 100,000 yen. So with the currency conversion, that's like $650, $700, something like that. It's pretty reasonable. Now, you're like, well, you bought the house. Why do you have inspected it after that fact? Well, the last house, the Machiya house, we had inspected before we made an offer, and we decided not to make an offer based on the fact of the inspection. So you'd think, well, you should have done the same thing here, right? Who knows what we're going to find? We decided, and I've said this in the past videos, we decided to go for it because we didn't know, because this house was just too much of an opportunity. It was, we didn't want to miss it. Even if it has issues, we wanted the house. Even if we had to tear the house down and start over again, we wanted the house because we wanted it for the land. This is like, if real estate is about location, this house hits all those marks. It doesn't matter. So yeah, so if the house is a problem child, we're ready to accept that. And that was a lot for us to digest 30 minutes after we'd seen the house for the first time, and we're walking back to our mansion, because it's only within a short walk to where we live now. And Yumiko and I were like, what are we going to do? And we realized it doesn't matter, that nothing matters for the house. It's all about the location. Let's make an offer. Let's make it full price. Let's make it now. And we did, and we got the house. So that's, the architect's coming at 9. I'm planning Yoko has the day off. My sister-in-law Yoko, tomorrow's a holiday in Japan. So we're going to keep working on the place. We have a new Suzuki Jimny that's in beautiful condition, and I will need to taking the housewares from inside the house to the dump wasn't such a big deal because it's clean, so to speak. But the stuff from the sheds, there's a lot of crap in there. So what I'm going to be doing today is carefully. We've already sorted all the stuff from the sheds into the burnables and the non-burnables and the oily stuff. They have to be handled separately. Take them to the dump at separate trips. Well, the oily stuff you can't even take to the dump. You take it to the bin to can mahi, the cans and bottle bay. So what I'll be doing is I have lots and lots of bags. I'm going to be very carefully bagging everything up because I learned my lesson from the last time when I moved back to America. I did the same thing, and I ruined our car trying to bring all the dirty stuff from storage to the dump. I'm not going to do that again because it's a nice new car. I'm going to carefully bag everything, put it in the car, and if I even have to make many, many small trips with very carefully sorted and organized things so that not to soil my wife's lovely car. It really is our car. Okay, as I think I talked about the day, feeling great since I started to take charge of things. The malaise that I was feeling the last earlier in the week has seemingly gone away. Lesson learned, I will not fall into that trap again. I learned my lesson. In 6:33 right now, I should wrap up in just a minute. By 7 o'clock, I'll be home. I'll take the dogs for a walk. By 8 o'clock, we'll have breakfast. By 9 o'clock, we need to be at the house earlier than that to meet the architect. So by 8:30, we should be at the house and ready to go. I better get going. Yumiko's probably up right now because she knows we've got an early start. So I better wrap this up. Let me go through comments. There's April. Hi, April. Good morning, April. Robert, good morning. April says, if I knew where the old lady actually was, I would probably take the money to her. If not, I would have done the same as you did. That's understandable. Ashley Wood says, I agree. Perhaps she found it more comfortable to just walk away from it rather than going back through her past. A fresh start. If you knew what I found in those drawers, you would not want it. You wouldn't. Let me just put it this way. If I were her, I wouldn't want to open those drawers and see what was in there. Perfectly innocuous, painless, just to some stranger from a foreign country going through and cleaning it out. It's like it's like if there's something difficult, like you got a snake in a bag, and it's like I don't want to handle this. You take care of it, right? To give it to somebody that doesn't mind snakes. That's what this was like. I was going through the drawers and I was like, oh man, this is heavy stuff, and I didn't even share it with Yumiko because it's too heavy. But I was like, I can handle it because I'm indifferent. I'm totally removed. But she wouldn't want to do it. So I'm just building on what you mentioned there, Ashley. 9,000 yen would be a small price to pay not to have to go through those drawers. If I were her. Bob, hi Bob. It would be awkward returning $60. Normally people in the U.S. want nothing to do with a buyer after a sale. I think you did okay. There's that element as well, like the done deal, right? I feel that way too, and I really, really got that feeling because we met her at the sale. Like when she handed over the keys, it was like, here's my keys. I hope I never see you again. Nothing personal, but just like bringing closure for herself to this thing. And Bob and Robert, believe in yourself, is commenting that Bob has an awesome name. You both do. Mr. Safety Forever. There's a new name I've never heard. Hello, welcome. Understandable, you would not want to inflict emotional distress. Perhaps best to set items aside, then discard at a reasonable period of time. That's an interesting perspective on it. Almost everything is gone. I did keep the World Cup memorial stuff. I don't think anybody's going to care about that. I'm going to get rid of that too. And the money's already been spent. But if they were to show up and say, hey, Grandma says she left a purse full of 9,000 yen in there, then I'll get out my wallet. Here's 9,000 yen. So yeah, I'll gladly do that if someone asks. Bob says, can you get a small trailer for that Jimny? Trailers are awesome. I'm sure we could. Robert saying hello, and April says, yeah, the personal stuff is left behind for a reason. April, I think you get the award for summarizing in one sentence the gist of the matter, right? People do things for a reason. And that stuff was left behind for a reason. And with that very wise comment of the last 24 hours for sure. I'm going to sign off and get home to my dear wife so we can begin our day. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Oh, I forgot to go over the creed. 8 objectives. To be always ready to. I'll go fast. I'm not supposed to go fast. I'm supposed to go slowly, deliberately, and carefully. Here we go. To be always ready to die. To make good and effective use of time. To develop and maintain good and sound life principles. To cultivate good emotional reactions. To perform good actions. To recognize my true limits and true opportunities. To do just one thing at a time and do the things slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And to keep my balance. And with that, one last drain. Boss espresso. Very good. Take care, everybody. Have a good day, Mr. Safety. Forever. Have a good day. Ashley and everybody else. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.